Hi, I'm Seth Rogen, and this is the WIRED Autocomplete Interview, Part 2. I'm generally horrified to Google myself, but I'm curious to see what's flying around out there these days. All right, who is Seth Rogen? Valid question. Who is this guy? If you've Googled this, the answer is me. I am Seth Rogen. Who does Seth Rogen look like? If you're the average person on the street, any other famous Jewish person. Who does Seth Rogen play in The Lion King? I play Pumbaa, the warthog, in the new Lion King. Who does Seth Rogen's voice? Do people ask that? As though I have another person doing this? The answer is me, Seth Rogen. I do Seth Rogen's voice. Could you imagine the infrastructure required to have another human doing my voice? That would be insane. If you have ever Googled who does Seth Rogen's voice, you're an idiot. Thank you so much. Does Seth Rogen have a podcast? Yes, Seth Rogen does have a podcast. It's called Storytime with Seth Rogen. It's one of the most acclaimed things I've ever done, which is not saying much, but people do seem to enjoy it. Did Seth Rogen invent the cross joint? I didn't. I would say I probably played a role in popularizing the cross joint, but we had like a book of like novelty joints that someone had given us, and we rolled them in high school. They were like it was like a party trick kind of. So no, I only wish I had the ingenuity to invent the cross joint. I'm not an engineer. Does Seth Rogen sell his pottery? I've never sold my own original pottery. I've sold replicas, versions, things based on my pottery, things I've worked a long time designing and making sure that they're good, but not my actual physical pottery that I've made. Does Seth Rogen celebrate Christmas? No. Seth Rogen is Jewish. Does Seth Rogen play Call of Duty? I used to, probably up until like 5 years ago when I was playing one of the newer Call of Duties, and I just couldn't do it. And I was like, this is the moment that I am too old to play these games. And I put Call of Duty away, and I've not played it since. Okay, how did Seth Rogen get his start? I started doing stand-up comedy in Vancouver, British Columbia when I was around 13 years old. That led me to getting an agent, and then I found myself on the television show Freaks and Geeks, and I essentially work with a lot of the same people I did since then. How did Seth Rogen meet Jay Baruchel on the show Undeclared? I met him at the audition, and then probably the screen test was the first time I hung out with him. And we brought him in, and I remember him explaining to me that his favorite movie was Fight Club, and if he got the show, he was going to buy a Ferrari. I think he was greatly underestimating the amount of taxes we would be paying in relation to our salaries at that time. How old was Seth Rogen in Donnie Darko? 18 maybe? I think I was probably 8. My parents were not on the set, so I was probably 18 years old. It was my first film role, yeah. And I worked with Jake Gyllenhaal, who it was one of his first films. And I remember thinking, this guy is going to be much more successful than me. And I was right. How to pickle like Seth Rogen? By that you mean pickle a human? I hope that's not what people mean. If the answer is that, I think you can't. I think if you're wondering, can you pickle yourself like I did in the movie An American Pickle, you cannot do that. Thank you. Is Seth Rogen alive? Last I checked, but it's been debated. If I died between now and when this airs, it would be spooky. Is Seth Rogen banned from North Korea? I assume. I think everyone's kind of banned from North Korea. It's not an easy place to just go to. Is Seth Rogen friends with Adele? No. This might be referring to the fact that I was sitting front row at her television special. I've never met Adele, and that's the closest I've ever been to Adele. I'm a big fan, and if you're not, you're a f***ing asshole, because Adele's objectively good. I'm not saying you gotta play Adele like all the f***ing time, but if you don't like Adele, period, you're not a good person. Is Seth Rogen God? The movie Ghostbusters has taught me to say yes to this question. Is Seth Rogen's laugh real? From the people that brought you the question, who does Seth Rogen's voice, comes to Seth. Could you imagine the life I would be leading to have had to maintain a manufactured laugh since the late 90s? That's like these actors who are bald, who pretend they're not bald. I look at them and I'm like, the life you've chosen to lead, what have you done here? Just be bald. There's bald people. Ed Harris, sexy man. Bald. There's hundreds of bald men that are sexy. Are you kidding me? Larry David's a good-looking bald man. Bruce Willis, great-looking bald. Jason Statham, the entire cast of Fast and Furious, bald. Bald. All baldos. It's why they're so fast and furious. You can transcend baldness, is what I'm saying, with others' attributes. What Seth Rogen? What is Seth Rogen like in real life? I wish I knew at this point, honestly. I think kind of like this. This is not a thing I do in like my normal life, so not specifically like this, but I'd say in general, I don't have someone else doing my voice or my laugh or something like that. What camp did Seth Rogen go to? I went to a camp called Camp Miriam. Some of my best friends to this day I met at Camp Miriam, or Machane Miriam, as we called it, because it was a Jewish camp. My sister and her friends rented out from time to time, and I went there maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and it was weird. It was exactly the same. They've not like changed anything. There was like graffiti I had written that was still like on the walls of the cabin. What show did Seth Rogen write on? I've written on a few TV shows. The first one was Undeclared, which was on Fox. We premiered, I believe, September 17th, 2001. Not the best release date for a light comedy show. And the show did not do well and was canceled pretty quickly after, I think, 16 episodes maybe. But I was a writer on that. And then I was a writer on the Ali G show in 2004, I think. What color is Seth Rogen's hair? I assume there's not a word missing there, right? My hair is, I don't know, brownish gray with more and more skin color poking through. But I've decided to bald, to not be like these other men. You will watch me bald. I will be on that list one day. I did turn to my wife the other day and I said, one day you will be married to a bald man, just so you know. It might not be for a while. It might be decades from now, but I will bald, and I will not hide it. It's already happening. I'm sure if you're a huge fan of mine, you've noticed it over the years. Thank you so much. Who's Seth Rogen? Who did Seth Rogen write Superbad with? I wrote it with my friend Evan Goldberg, who I still work with to this day. We met in bar mitzvah class when we were 12 years old. We went to high school together. We wrote Pineapple Express together. We direct This Is the End together in the interview, and we produced together. And he's still one of my very best friends. And we still write together. We started writing Superbad when we were like 13 years old, basically when we started high school. It's like embarrassing how similar it is to the finished movie that we made that is still what many consider one of the best things I've ever had anything to do with. I've had to grapple a lot with the fact that I did a lot of that when I was like 15 years old. So, yeah. Who does Seth Rogen play in Invincible? I play Alan the Alien in Invincible, and it's a wonderful show. I recommend you watch it. It's like there is dramatic elements to the role, and there's comedic elements to the role. I was glad people accepted me as Alan the Alien, because he's a very muscular figure. And whenever I am accepted as a muscular person, even in the context of an animated superhero show, it's flattering. Who is Seth Rogen's agent? United Talent Agency is my agent. I don't know if they don't want their name said. That's enough. That's all you need to know. Who plays Seth Rogen's dad in Knocked Up? The late, great Harold Ramis plays my dad in Knocked Up. He's in Ghostbusters. He plays Egon Spangler. He directed Groundhog Day, which is one of the greatest comedies of all time. And he has written countless other amazing comedies and directed other countless amazing comedies. And I met him at the Deauville Film Festival with Judd Apatow when we were there in 2000. We were there with 40-Year-Old Virgin. We asked him if he would play my father, and he said yes, and it was fantastic. Is Seth Rogen vegan? Seth Rogen is not vegan. I eat vegan things at times. Sometimes I'll find myself having eaten something vegan, and I'll think, oh, not bad. Sometimes I'll think, look at you. You're really doing it. Is Seth Rogen making a new movie? Yeah. I have made a movie that'll come in around Thanksgiving called The Fabelmans, directed by Steven Spielberg. And I also this year will be making another new movie. There are more Seth Rogen movies coming your way. I don't usually talk about myself in the third person. Please include that. Is Seth Rogen friends with Eminem? I wouldn't say I'm friends with Eminem. If I saw Eminem, I would go talk to him, and I'd be happy to see him, and I assume he'd be happy to see me. So I would say I'm a friendly acquaintance with Eminem. But if I'm like making a list of like people to invite over for a barbecue, Eminem is not on it. Nor has he ever invited me to anything. So I think he feels similarly. Is Seth Rogen the yellow M&M? No, I'm not an M&M. And I wouldn't be an M&M. You know what? I would never be an M&M. What Seth Rogen directed? I I like how they worded that. Seth Rogen directed This Is the End and The Interview and the pilot for the show Preacher, as well as some episodes of that, and the pilot for the show Black Monday, as well as some episodes of that. That's most of it. What is Seth Rogen's zodiac sign? I was born April 15th. Aries. I'm an Aries. What is Seth Rogen's phone number? Watch The Eric Andre Show. You will find it. What does Seth Rogen drive? For a long time, I had a Toyota Highlander, and I really liked it. And then I was like, I can afford a Range Rover. And then I got one of those, and I like it much more. That was the Wired Autocomplete Interview. Thank you for searching, and thank you for watching.